evening, and welcome everyone back to another episode of the Love Speak podcast, where our goal is to get love right. I'm your host, Chef Earl Pearl at DBCHEFTV, always with the baddest of the baddies, Billy Badass Joe, and
Hey,
we
work.
are the Love Speak. How you feeling, baby?
I'm feeling pretty good. A little bit of a bumpy week, but overall, beautiful outcome. How about yourself?
Everything fantastic. It's Thursday. Um, the what they call it, the weekend eve. It's the
Yep.
weekend eve, the eve of the weekend. So we always thankful, always trying to spread some love and some positivity, and then be productive. So my week has been very productive, and we thankful for that.
Yep.
So I'm glad that we are here tonight, because man, we got a great show for y'all. Make sure y'all like and share this video. Also subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of the Love Speak. And tonight, y'all, our topic is falling out of love.
Mm.
That's what we're gonna be talking about tonight, right here on the Love Speak podcast. So before we get into tonight's topic, y'all, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little quick commercial break, run some ads, and then we're gonna come right back to our questions.
This whole publication is all about going from nowhere to somewhere, right? Being able to stand on something so that you can travel in peace, right? So bksoulfarm.com, 1016, 160 self-sustainability. Jump on the list and get yourself together, right? Because it is irresponsible to not even know what responsibility means. So get yourself together, food, clothing, and shelter, protection of that, support your interests, and live.
Some say that art imitates life, but we say that life is art. So visit the DB Chef TV gift shop and get 15% off of your next masterpiece of fashion. How do you get there? Simply tap the link in the description. Exchange insights Sundays at 8 p.m. East Coast time with the Cigar Panel, smoking on words like two big nerds, hosted by DB Chef TV and BK Soul Farm at Cigar Sundays on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so when they go live, you never miss an episode of Cigar Sundays Live.
Fans in the Stands is gaining momentum thanks to our viewers. Our crew bring the facts with humor, keeping our viewers entertained and laughing. Join us each and every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Fans in the Stands on YouTube.
At the Veteran Kettle Podcast, we thank you for your service, support, and sacrifice to our country. Listen to real stories of adversity and triumph as we give our best to honor our vets. Subscribe today and watch episodes now streaming on YouTube at TVK Podcast, The Veteran Kettle. Love ain't always easy, and we won't stop until we get it right. So bring that ass to the Love Speak podcast. Subscribe today and let your love speak at TLS Podcast. The Love Speak, now streaming on YouTube.
Sign up for the newsletter and shop merch and clothing at www.dbcheftv.com.
Okay, y'all. So we are back, and tonight's topic is falling out of love. We have 5 questions that we are going to go over this evening at the Love Speak Q&A. And our first question is, what causes people to fall out of love with each other? Our second question is, how do past traumas or experiences shape one's ability to love over time? Our third question, can external issues like work or family issues lead to a love loss? Fourth, what things are important in sustaining love over time and why? And our fifth and final question, is it possible to rekindle love after falling out of it, and how? How do we do that? Let us know in the comments section as we answer each question, and you rock with us tonight and let your love speak in the comments section right here on the Love Speak podcast. We're going to go ahead and get into our first question. Peace, power, and profit. Shout out to Dr. Mo Lamb pulling up this evening to join us. What causes people to fall out of love with each other? Billy Badass Joe, let us know.
I mean, as we are know, what's the word I'm looking for? Doctored or certified love specialist. However, right. However, we are humans that has been on the earth for a little while and has some experiences. So I'm going to leave with that. So everything I'm saying is obviously based on my experiences or maybe witnessing somebody else's that has been close to me. So that's the angle that I'm speaking from. But there's a plethora of reasons for people to fall out of love. There's a plethora of them. I think the easiest one that sticks out to people the most is finances. I think that is what a general consensus would say if you took a poll, that it would be finances. But as for me, I'm going to put it on the list because I know that the world may agree to it, but it would be on the bottom of my list. There would be other things that would be more important that would cause a reason to fall out of love. Some of the things I'm going to list, if you have these things down locked, you could be homeless with your significant other and still love them. You know, I think inconsistency can cause people to fall out of love.
Inconsistencies. Okay.
Yes, inconsistency for sure. I feel like dishonesty can cause people to fall out of love. I feel like maybe this might sound weird, but it happens, especially with relationships that tend to go on for years. I think that growth can make people fall out of love.
Growth. Okay.
Yeah. I think that could be a big one. Or we'll even go on the opposite side of the spectrum of growth, staying stagnant or not growing, not expanding your horizons, not becoming more educated over the years, not, investing and learning and expanding your brain. That might cause your mate to be turned off and fall out of love as well. And then, like I said, the last thing on my list would be finances. But if I had to come up with reasons off the top of my head freely, that would be a few of them. What are your thoughts?
Well, okay. I want to ask you some questions though, real quick about three things that you said. Three things.
Mm-hmm.
Inconsistency. What type of inconsistency?
Okay. We'll
like
go
what
with this
like,
one for
and
each.
it doesn't have to be it's many that I get it. But
right.
What does that look like?
Right. Okay, let's use a basic one. Some people might run into. A man can't keep a job or a woman can't keep a job, right? Inconsistent. And it may not even be the whole synopsis of I need your money to help me contribute towards this house, because one party might financially be able to obtain everything, but the inconsistency of your partner not being able to obtain a job, not being able to stick to a regime or regiment, not being able to work under or overpower, not being able to take direction of criticism. So these are all reasons that a person may fail to keep a job, right? Or it might just be poor time management. They're always late, So actually, if you continue to be late, I guess that is consistency. But what I'm saying is that you are inconsistent in reaching positivity. You are inconsistent in reaching the finish line.
And keeping that job for sure.
Exactly. That's one of them.
Staying employed.
Employed. That's an example.
Right. And then how does that relate to the falling out of love? Because I get if I can't keep a job, like rock with me here. I get if I can't keep a job, then there is something that I need to work on, based on the things you were saying. Like, I need to focus on my tardiness, being more present, on time, I need to focus on being able to take direction. I get that example. People, whether you say working over or under, whether you are the boss or you
Exactly.
are the worker,
The
you
subordinate,
know.
right? Yeah.
So either way, you have to be able to take good instruction to give instruction. You got to be
Exactly.
a good follower to be a good leader. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so I understand that, but those are things where I'm saying that how does that affect the other person in the relationship? Because you exemplify. I'm sure the other person exemplifies it, right? And it's something that they dislike about their mate who they're with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, you know how does that affect the love? Because their partner may be able to maybe to give them some tools, to be able to self-improve in those areas, and it doesn't affect the love, and that may be something that is part of their role or assignment in that.
Yeah.
Even though I know we in a culture where what they say, they want the evenly yoked, they want the ready-made thing,
Right.
so to your point specifically, a person may have those things that they need to work on within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So how if theoretically, if you were dealing with somebody like that,
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
how would that look? Is from the fallout of love approach, you know
Okay. So everything we're about to make up or everything we're about to say
theoretical.
is a theoretical, yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm not in this situation. But let me speak from somebody if I had to be in it. Let's say if I was the breadwinner in my situation and I did maintain the bills or everything financial. So
But
I
no,
don't
but
have
no, but let's not say the breadwinner. Let's just say you was the one who knew how to keep a job.
Okay, we'll go with that. Let's say if I was
You
running a
know,
keep job. All right, I completely am not against a punching a clock. Like people saying, I'm not built to punch a clock a 9 to 5, right? I get that. Like I'm actually that type of girl as well. Like my spirit is just too free for me to feel contained to 8 hours on somebody's clock 5 days a week, 80 hours every 2 weeks. Like it's just not for me. But I completely understand why it aligns perfectly with some other people, right? But let's say if my
absolutely.
mate is somebody that it don't align with and they are not blossoming in that area of life. So they go to one job and it doesn't work out. Then they apply and get another job and it doesn't work out. And it's for whatever these reasons are, but it's inconsistency. You cannot keep a job. I'm going to come to a point in a place where I'm going to try to find out why that is the case. And if there's something that you deem to be not fitting for you to work that job, then we need to find something, right? And this is where the love part probably gets teetered at, because if your mate can't be, if they can't suffice in that area, but yet they can't find something else for them to grow and blossom in, then it's almost like, what is your purpose? What are you doing? And I'm not saying working a job is your purpose, but once you find out working a 9 to 5 ain't gonna work for you and you do have a purpose in life, if you want to go work on that consistently and we can see where you're blooming from that at, then I support that. But to take that energy and not go punch a clock, but not also apply it somewhere else in life, that ain't gonna work either. So I do want it to be understood that just because you don't have the, American, getting up and going somewhere, working corporate or this, that, and the third, it doesn't make you less than. But what is important is that you are doing something constructive. You are doing something with your time, and that's just one example of inconsistency. And again, before we get off of it, you could be a hobbyist, you could be a entrepreneur. You need something to show me that you're going to show up for it every day, or that you have something to work towards that's going to help you blossom. That's what I mean by the consistency part of it. Now, what I'm about to say might be far-fetched, or some people can argue it, but 9 times out of 10, if your mate can't keep a job, and let's say if every time they get fired, it is because of they're hard to work with, or they're not a team player, or they're something of that nature, they probably giving you a hard time at home too. I mean, I could be wrong about that. That's all I'm saying, you know? Or like if they're always getting fired due to tardiness, like, yeah, you can set the alarm clock and you can help your mate wake up on time and get to the job. But what happens when you go out of town for that week and you're not there to wake them up every day? Or what happens when you're just so consumed with your own life for a couple of days, you can't be their alarm clock for 4 days, and then next thing you know, they didn't strike out within that week of work, you know? So it's kind of like, this is why inconsistency can cause a couple to fall out of love. It's almost like, do you want a partner or do you want a responsibility?
Do you want a partner or do you want a responsibility?
Right. Because inconsistency leads to somebody having to pick up the other part of the responsibility that you inconsistently ain't taking care of. You can have an inconsistent partner. How about this? How about the partner who works too much, right? Okay. And let's go to the other side of the inconsistency. And the other partner does work. Maybe they don't, but they are the partner that is full-time parent for the kids. I'm talking about taking them to practice. I'm talking about stand-on practice, being an interactive piece, cheering their child on, coming home, washing the uniform, getting the kid ready for bed, and hit and repeat the next day. One partner might say, hey, you're inconsistent in our child's lives. Like, I'm always the one at the games. I'm always the one at the practices. That's inconsistent for you to not show up for our kids. And they are a priority, just as well as paying the bills and things of that nature. But once in a while, you need to find some type of way to show that they mean something and that you can consistently show up for them. If you keep on finding that partner, you at the games by yourself, and you just, that's how the mother get to talking to that single father that's there. That's how that single father talks to that mom that's there. You get what I'm saying? It's almost possible. It's very possible.
Possible.
It's very possible.
You ain't wrong. That it don't always is. It's not always like that though, because you have people who are in the military, truck drivers, oil rig workers, pilots. You have people who have employment that requires them to be away, and that is their role and responsibility of that household. So the other parent's role is to do all of that stuff for the children. Yeah. So that way they don't have to do the breadwinner, the bread, the other part,
the hustle and bustle part outside of the house. Yeah.
Is going to go get the bread. Yeah. And their employment requires them to have to be separated in that capacity. So I understand that, yes, it does leave room for things like that for weak people who lose sight of the goal, who lose sight of what those sacrifices, that sacrifice of one of those partners being away, whoever that is, because I've seen it in the military. I've seen it where I've seen dads that were stay-at-home dads, while their wife was deployed, and I've seen dads at home while the wife was at home, dads deployed while the wife was at home. So so I do understand, and I don't have a same-sex couple to refer to, because during my tenure in the military, that just wasn't common. Right. So that's not to say that it still doesn't apply in that capacity nowadays, even in some of those other fields, like we said, of truck driving, oil rig working, and various other employments that require one partner to be out. But but the falling out of love part though is the part that that I want us to focus on, as far as how those things, because that is our question. It's like what causes those. So you gave fantastic causes you know, the
Mm-hmm.
inconsistency, the dishonesty, the growth, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But what's missing from the love? Like, okay, we know that if I'm not working, right? If I can't keep employment, all right, the other person will be frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
all right. However, you know, are they there to say, you know what? Since you can't keep employment, have you ever thought about um running your own business, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and working for yourself? Have you ever
Mm-hmm.
put any thought into what you would like to do other than keep on going to these jobs and losing them,
Right.
you know? Or, you know, or now that puts you in a place where it's like, okay, but they just like, well, nah, I just want to live off you. You know, it puts a person up to be honest, to say, you know what, like, nah, well, I'm cool as long as you keep doing what you doing. I'm gonna just keep doing
Yes.
what you know, I'm gonna just keep doing what you allow me to do until you get tired of it, and then I just figure something else out. The same way I be doing with these jobs, the same way I be giving up on everything and I don't follow through on anything.
Now you
You
making my
know,
point. Now you getting where I'm going. I
I'm
why the
with
love.
you.
Yep.
I'm with you, Billy
Yep.
Badass. I'm with you. So that's where I'm saying, like, these things, you know, either become, when you talk about its inconsistency in relation to employment,
Yeah, as
just
an example. Yeah.
using that as an example, you know, it's like, where does the love falling happen? Because if I'm a person who says, you know what, well, I want to encourage this person to think about things that they can do, because I love them, you know. So part of
Yeah.
me loving on them is sharing some of my knowledge, you know, and sharing
Yeah.
some of the things that I think maybe they're undervaluing themselves by trying to go get a job all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that could be the real problem. Is like, you're not really valuing taking, you know, your self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not loving yourself the way I love you. You
Right.
know,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, and and the only reason why I haven't said that this is a deal breaker is because I do love you. You know,
Exactly.
and
And
you
I'm
know, and you don't turn your back on people you love, right?
exactly.
So
Yeah.
at least not without trying to do everything till you have just given up and saying, like, it don't matter what I do, they just gonna do what they gonna do. They don't care, you know.
Right.
So I either am just gonna continue to be a crutch, you
Yeah.
know, or I'm gonna get out the way,
Yeah.
you know. So,
I think.
and that seems to be like, that's where the falling out of love occurs,
Mm-hmm.
where you've exhausted all of, you know, the love, advice, knowledge, you know, compassion, consideration, trust, you know, teamwork, you
Resources.
you know, everything that you're trying to pour into them, and then they just still, you know, consistently are a ball dropper, you
Yeah.
know. So you have to say to yourself, wow, okay, now, do this person is a consistent quitter, they never follow through. Do I just want to keep on pouring into it, you know, or do I just want to say, you know what, maybe what their problem is because they have a crutch, and they know that they're not required to follow through.
Yeah.
So I remove that.
Yeah.
They won't understand it,
Nope.
you
They're
know.
gonna think
And
you
I
slighted them. They're gonna think you left them while they high and dry.
you know, and I don't think that's falling out of love. I think that's just tough love, you know. But I understand how it can be perceived that way, because it's like, well, you was doing it before, why you gonna stop doing it now?
Right.
You know, people have that like Dr. Mo Lamb said in the comments, expectations.
Yeah.
And I think that we don't set what causes people to fall out of love with each other. I think that we don't put expectations at the front of things. I think so many relationships get started, pardon me, um where everybody get to screwing first,
Right.
and everybody get to liking to just hang with each other, and just, you know, that feeling that you get, and then there isn't anything explained. There isn't any type of well, this is what I like, this is what I need, this is what I prefer, this is, you know, all of these things, they kind of just go with the flow and get found out because people don't have these. It's not common for people to have these conversations at the front of a conversation. You know, nowadays, when you have a man that is opinionated or not willing to be just told anything, you know, I think the young ladies call him sassy. You know, because he'll say, nah, that's not what it is. He'll correct you. You know, and it's not trying to one up you. It's just like so you can get it right, so you can know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, and then we have the other end of the spectrum where it's like a lot of women nowadays, but in the dating scene nowadays, you know, it's, well, what are your benefits? How can you benefit me? So if it's just the how can you benefit me, and then on the other end, like it's one extreme to the next. If it's just how can you benefit me, and then it's the guys determining if they even want to deal with what it would take to get the goodies to, you know, to go through that, then there definitely isn't any conversations about expectations going on.
Right.
You know, there's just somebody telling you like, this what I want in order for you to get what you want.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like just an exchange. It's kind of just like a business transaction. It's not even really it's not really trying to personalize things to learn somebody, to become friends, and
I agree with you. The one thing you said I want to talk about before we get too far away from, though, is the whole having a significant other in the service. You know, first of all, shout out to you. I know you served our country. You're in the Coast Guard, so yes, sir. And also, I know one of the commercials also spoke on the people serving our country. You know, let's just get to that real quick. A significant other who's out of the country serving is not aligned with inconsistency. They don't even fit the profile of this conversation. Now, when they get home and what they doing while they're not away, maybe that could be set for argument. But anybody that's dating somebody in the military, it's almost like you need to get familiar with what you're signing up for before you even do it, because that you don't have an excuse when you are at practices by yourself. Are you doing this or you doing that when your significant other is legitly in the service serving? So those people don't get a pass. They're not included in this part of the conversation. They need their ass kicked if they doing something that they don't got no business doing at that particular time. But
it's a lot of people getting their ass kicked, for real.
Yeah, and I know I'm not condoning violence inside the relationship. I'm just speaking. There's a theoretical term of So we not. Please keep your hands to your feet.
Like an analogy,
an analogy,
analogy wise,
not theoretically. An analogy, correct?
Because it is people who are, like you was making the point you was making earlier. There are people who still, you know, are at the games and looking for that single person or married person or whoever's willing to give them their attention. You know, they willing to, you know. So and that's you know, that would be cheating.
That would be cheating. That would be cheating.
That would be cheating. So that's, you know, causes of cheating, you know, what we call infidelity, inconsistencies, dishonesty, finances, like you said.
I mean, and you really supported. When I gave my examples, I gave the beginning with the whole example, and then I gave the ending outcome with being falling out of love. But I think you did perfect with and closing the body of it, basically laying out like the foundation of how you end up falling in love is by putting in the work. You don't just dip out on your partner, like you said, the time hits rough and y'all done. No, you love them. That's why you even got with them. And that's why you are going to put up the fight and walk through the process. But like you said, and like I'm 100% agreeing with, going through that process and not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel can wear you down. The love that you have, and all, more so because you start to discover the person that you thought you were in love with. You know, and maybe at one point in time they were the person you thought them to be, and over time things change. But I think that's the biggest part of it all, is finding out that your partner is not who you created them to be in your mind. That's the ultimate part of falling out of love. Yeah.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one right there. You know, I think that goes a lot to expectations. You know, and not having a conversation. Like I always recommend that people live together before getting married. I know that like in some places they want you to, you know, date or whatever. And I still agree with that, courtship and all that. That's all good, you know. But two people with two different habits should cohabitate with each other, so you can see so you can see if those things that you like or dislike, and figure out what they are. Because if you're gonna spend the rest of your life with that person, you need to know those habits. You know, those things that you can see if you can fix them. You know, well, let me not say that. That's bad. If
you can live with them,
if there's room for improvement,
right?
And they will understand, you know, your perspective on it, or you know, or if this is something that you're willing to be dealing with consistently because they don't value it enough to improve it or to make the necessary adjustments to accommodate you in that space as well. You know, because it's both your space, it's a shared space.
Exactly.
So, you know, and things will change over time, you know. So it's like you also have to be, it has to be consistent. It's not just, you know, it's not just like, oh, well, last week you said you ain't want the heat on this, and now you know.
Right.
It's just like you have to know your person. If they're a person who like the heat up, or they're a person who like it on mortuary in there, you know.
Right. Right.
So
hell,
you know,
heat
on icebox. You know?
Right. Exactly.
Now, you know, they keep the dead people on the cold.
They do. Oh, you right. The mortuary. Damn, I was thinking death, dead, hell. Wow, we gotta edit this part out.
Nah. It's not on cremation. You know, that's what I said. They keep them on.
Right. It is icebox.
Yeah, it's icebox in there. You know, but the cremation.
I don't do icebox. What you like, by the way? You like it hot or warm?
Okay, so.
I mean, cold or hot.
So I'm a person that likes it. I like if I could find a place on earth where it was just like 75, 76 degrees all year round, I would be there forever. Okay? Just year round, 76, 77. You know, maybe it go up, you know, and we get some hot days in the 90s. That's cool. But like the lows forever, even at nighttime, 76, 77. I could sleep outside.
Ain't there a place like that in California, Arizona, or something? Ain't one of them too?
No.
No.
No, I don't know where in California. I've been to Northern California and needed a coat and some Timbs and some corduroys, long sleeve. You know. I haven't hung out in Southern California, but that's the desert, and those guys have big starter jackets and stuff, so I know they're not just, you know, wife beaters and t-shirts underneath of them, you know. So, right. You know, and you still gonna sweat. But if there was a place like that, you know, that's how I like it, because I always tease my wife because she had an AC cranking and then be up underneath the blanket. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's a waste of electricity. You know, I'm like, just turn the AC down, you know, and then take some clothes off, and you'll be comfortable. Then you could just lounge. You know, so.
Of course, the husband's always for the wife taking the clothes off.
Yeah, you know, you know, that's my move. You know, I think we both win. She get cool.
Right. Win is a win.
You know, maybe heat things up. Who knows? You know, so definitely. But Well, moving on to our second question. If y'all just joining us, make sure to like the video. It helps us get content like this in front of beautiful, loving people like you. And we got the chat going crazy. Shout out the fans in the stands, Bubbling Brown, Dr. Mo Lamb. Go ahead and continue to let y'all love speak in the chat and in the comments while we move on to our second question. How do past traumas or experiences shape one's ability to love over time?
How does one past traumas or experiences shape one's ability to love over time? Now, I'm going to answer this, but I'm going to answer it from my standpoint. And I know I've said this in the past on some of our episodes that I'm quote unquote more complicated. But with that being said, I feel like I'm not more open or understanding, but I think that my mind is not wired per se like majority. So some people I can understand completely how their past trauma or experiences have sheltered them in the love world, or has gave them a synopsis of like, oh, that person ain't or this person ain't, or things of that nature. However, I like to say that I could have chose to go a different route about love with some of the things that I have seen. But some of the things I've seen have not been good, and some of the things that I've seen have been good. But just to sum it all up, I think that for me not to have a mother and a father in one household. In fact, my father is deceased, so it never would have happened. But I think that to not have the idealistic image, that I still turned out okay with love, like understanding the process of love, willing to go through it, being forgiven in love. Some things I haven't forgave, all of that. They're classic signs, I guess, that you may become aware of as you experience different people or different relationships. And if you can see those red flags appearing in another relationship that you have coming up, then you might want to be mindful of that. But I don't generally think I do think majority of most men lie. I mean, people lie. I don't think that every man is a cheater. I do think it's a good possibility that he might cheat, as she will too. But I don't like to think that being scorned is a way to carry your love life. I don't think being naive is a way to carry your love life either. But I do think that it is important that once you get with a new partner, y'all do get to know each other's lives to some degree, or what they love languages are, because some people need affection and they love that. We talked about this before. Or some people just need to hear the verbiage of it, and that's good enough. So I think that your past traumas and experiences can really dictate or be a cloud on your relationship. And I think you need to be mindful of it. And I think that a lot of people probably end up in a toxic love because they are stuck with their past experiences and they don't have the ability to decompartmentalize that person and that experience with the new person and a new experience. So I think it ends up affecting people more negatively than positively as far as past traumas and experiences.
Okay, well, let's talk about a couple things that you said. You said that they aren't able to. The most recent thing is decompress after they've experienced something. And why do we think that they are unable to decompress? What is happening there when we experience these things and then we go to another relationship and then we find ourselves either experiencing the same things or similar things, but also that relationship just is a failed relationship too, you know?
Yeah. I feel like being able to compartmentalize or decompartmentalize certain things is like a skill, right? Because I mean, it's just like anything else in life. Like you tend to eat the same food over and over because we like what we like. Every now and then we might get a new plate in front of us or a new food, and we may try it based on its presentation, its smell, or something like that. So I think it is essentially the same for relationships. You leave one relationship and you didn't go have no therapy about it. You didn't, talk to your higher power about it and work it out. You may or may not have give yourself enough time just to like have life go on. But I think that a lot of people see familiarity and they automatically like pick their answer because like that's natural. That's understandable. I'm not saying it's right, but I feel like that's what gets people in their situation. It's almost like when certain people go and commit crimes or they do this or they do that. I'm only using this because this is the most easiest thing I can think of, but like they'll say like, oh, a person who committed that crime, it got to be a person that know you because they stabbed you so many times. That had to been out of passion or that had to been out of personal feeling that they had for you, and then they know you, so that's why they did it, because it was an attachment. But sometimes people are crazy out here. People go out and do stuff to people they don't even know. You get what I'm saying? Because that's just who that person is. So bringing it back to the question is, people do stuff that when it looks familiar, they run with it instead of like almost challenging it or saying, hey, I'm not familiar with this. And then that part alone is scary, just like being unfamiliar with something and then having to like try to figure it out. So yeah, that's my answer. I mean,
Yeah, I think what you were saying as far as the food correlation, because this is DB Chef TV, and we culinary arts, culture, and entertainment. But you said they like the way it looks and it smells, so they want to try. Like people are used to routines, but then they like the way something looks and they like the way it smells, so then they're willing to try the new dish out. And and that's so symbiotic to how I always say that, when physical attraction is the first thing, so it's not even a matter if, like if you handsome, all right, like I know I'm handsome.
All right, you
Okay.
better know it.
Like, and if you know that you are an attractive woman, all right, then sex is easy when we, the what we see, how it looks, the presentation, your word specifically, all right, of the new dish.
Exactly.
All right. Once we get close enough to each other, then we can smell each other. Do I got on that whatever I got on? Do she got on whatever she got on? Right. Okay. Or if it's just our natural scent, whatever, whatever people are into.
Right.
Because it might look good, but it might stink.
Okay.
It might hit your nostrils wrong, and you say, skirt. So, but 10 times out of 10, it's usually, if you like the way it looks, some people are willing to overlook the smell of it. They want to taste it anyway.
You got a point.
Okay. So that's the easy part. All right. Is doing that, is the getting together. But the part where you said that the thing that could happen, and we know that everybody, one, can't afford it because you do have to have some form of medical coverage. You have to, and you have to be able to afford the time to go, depend on, what other responsibilities you have in life. Even though people have time to go and find that new dish. Okay. Therapy. And we say therapy, well, wow. What does therapy look like? Now, you said some people have the ability, and that's, to be able to, but I think all people have the ability to self-reflect. I think it's
Yeah.
this if they choose not to. Like, um, like I've dated a young lady before who said that she can't be by herself.
Yeah, I heard that.
You know, so if if there was any type of thought or inclination that we would not be together, then she's probably already out the door cheating.
Mm-hmm.
She already starting something else because she's lost confidence in what we have. So she's gonna be, and I mean that didn't last long at all.
Yeah,
But
no.
you know,
I could tell,
cause
yeah, by the way
you
that,
know, we
yeah,
good, you know what I'm saying? We good.
yeah,
So I'm like, okay, but understanding that, I'm saying, yeah, weak ass, but having some compassion for it, I understand the honesty of a person knowing their self, saying like, yes, I don't like to put up with things. I don't like things to be difficult. I don't like a challenge. I don't like uh figuring things out. I don't like working
mm-hmm.
together to get to, what we want. I don't like that. I'm not a person who's capable of that,
Mm.
because I'm choosing not to.
Right,
Whether and I could say, oh well, they could, but if they are choosing you and they're choosing to not to by their actions being reflective of it, then I'm the fool if I don't believe what they telling me. That's what they're gonna do.
exactly.
You know. So I think that therapy and being able to know yourself, but when you coming out of these relationships, like the question says, is the past traumas and experiences, and going into something new. All right, or being in the relationship that you are in and you're trying to keep love consistent. If you didn't learn from those past things, if you didn't, self medicate, give yourself therapy where you sat back and you said, okay, what did I do wrong in this?
Mm-hmm.
Not just looking at what they did. They did something wrong because y'all ain't together. Okay.
Right.
Unless you just was just like, I don't care what they did. I'm selfish. I done did what I did. I'm gone. All
Yeah, that
right.
ain't no, yeah.
If that's the case, then that's just being honest with it. And
Right.
you're probably going to end up in another relationship where you conduct yourself selfishly.
Exactly.
And, the cycle just continues. But if a person says, you know what, I don't want my next relationship to be like that. So what do I need to do within me?
Yeah.
And that's where your therapy starts. Just like Billy Badass Joe said, we not uh clinical therapists here. We just speaking from our own personal experiences. You know that you have to go and look at yourself, and you have to be honest with yourself to say what I experienced in my past, you know, what those traumas were in my past. I was there, so I played a role in it. I
Yeah.
don't know to what extent I may have not um, been the agitator, you know, but I was in it. And there
Yeah.
was something a lot of times people who don't who lack the ability to take responsibility for their own actions say, I wouldn't have done this if you wouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to listen to them when they say what you did,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's not to be fearful of it, it's to understand and to say, okay, well, wow, I wonder, how would that affect somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And if I look at myself and I don't demonize it, I look at it through self-reflection, through growth, you know, then I can say, okay, well, let me be more mindful that I don't do that to the next person. Because, and even though the next person may not even take it that serious, they may be a
Right.
totally different personality that doesn't even look at that as a reason to go and do what that other person did that was so offensive or detrimental to your relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But if you have self-reflected and said, okay, well, I don't want to make anybody else feel like that at all,
Mm-hmm.
who I'm with. I want to take note to self. regardless of whether I agree how this person reacted to what I did, I don't want another person to react like that.
Exactly.
You know, that I'm with, because one, I'm better than that. I can be better than that, you know, and I deserve a love that's better than that. So I need to be mindful of how I'm treating the person that I say I love and how they're receiving it as well, you know. So I think that is you know, is a proper way
I think you did
to,
it. I think you did it. I think you answered that
you know,
perfectly because, like you just said, past trauma and experiences, they can dictate your whole future moving forward. But if you taking a majority of the steps that you just listed, you're gonna run it. It's not gonna run you. And I think Bubbly and Brown made a good point and or a comment, and it does support what you said. Doing the same exact thing over and over and expecting different results. That is the definition of insanity.
yeah,
So like you just said, if you want to take some time after you leave one situation and do some self-reflecting, do some healing, do some thinking, then your next situation hopefully will be better. Maybe not perfect, but better.
definitely, definitely, yep. And better is always,
Is the way
always
the
better.
direction to go.
Yep. So moving on to our third question this evening on the Love Speak Q&A. Tonight, y'all, we are discussing falling out of love. Tell us what you think in the chat and let your love speak in the comments. Our third question: can external issues like work or family issues lead to love loss?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that external issues, we'll use the examples that you have out there, family and work. We'll start with family first. I think that's a major one because a lot of times when people date, depending upon who your significant other is, if they are family oriented, you're not just dating that particular person, but you're dating the family. And I love that to some degree.
Are you dating the
I was about to
family
say,
though?
I love that to some degree. To some degree. Okay, let me restart this whole statement because there are some people who are not family oriented, but once you start dating them, you'll see how much of their family consumes their being. So even if they're not family oriented, like going to every holiday or making every auntie, uncle, cousin event or something like that, there still may be members within the family that are still very consuming of the family member that is your partner. Okay. So I
What
don't
does
want
that
to
look
say,
like? What does that look like? What does
okay,
that
that
look
looks
like?
like maybe I'm dating a man who spends a lot of his time with me, but his mama might be a, not, what's the word I'm looking for? She might require so
Okay.
much attention, finances, problem solving, whatever the case may be, that it is very much uh something that is impressionable in your relationship.
Okay.
We'll go with
Now,
that.
look. Now we have to ask. We have to ask because it's a lot of men who do stuff for their mamas out here. So look. So let me ask. But I know what the difference between um a titty boy is.
Right.
You know. So
And
I
just a
get
good
that.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
good man. So I
Yeah.
know the difference is, and we not talking about 2 Chainz, even though shout out to 2 Chainz.
Right. Shout out. Right.
But we know we know what a titty boy is, and we know what a good man is now. Now the difference is some of those things that you were saying, if the mother requires, but they're still meeting all the requirements of what their home needs.
Yeah.
Is
That's
is
not the
that
problem.
conflict?
No, that ain't the problem.
But
Then
it's the limited availability of guys who know how to balance that.
yes. I was about to
Okay.
say, if you have a man that's doing what you just said, finding the balance, you don't got no problem. I mean, I actually support a man that has a good relationship with his mom. And ladies, you might want to find a man that has a good relationship or a relationship with his mom, because it's tougher. And I'm saying this from my experience. It's tougher being in a relationship with a man that A, got a strained relationship with his mama, or B, just a disrespectful one. Like, I can't go for either one of them at this big age. Even a man that tells me that he don't got no relationship with his mother because his mother was a piece of shit all his life, I still really don't care to have those type of men be my partner, because it let me know that whatever trauma or detriment that she has done to you is still so deep resided in you that you ain't even been able to just be like, you know what, I only got one of you. I don't got to keep you right here as if I got to do everything for you, like you was the best lady in the world. But if you can't get past your own internal feelings about how you felt about this lady that did you wrong, like you got a lot of working out to do. And I know I might get a lot of backlash for that. I'm not saying you got to forgive your mama for everything she did. These are to the men that have a strained relationship or a bad relationship. I'm not saying she need to get a trophy or a prize, but I think that it don't do you or your mate no good for you to be harboring them feelings about the person that gave you birth, because that individual had a life well before you came. And I'm not making excuses for them. I'm giving you a reason to free your own mind from the shackles of how they treated you or mistreated you or fell short on treating you. You know, that's for any man out there. Yeah, any man out there. So I definitely think, all right, but even we could use that as an example. But what you said ain't a problem. If you got a man that's finding balance between the two, and then you got to deal with that woman and be thankful that you got a man that's balanced in the two. Now there's some other like parts of the family. For example, let's say if you date a man that has children with other women, one other woman or multiple other women, and you guys are in a situation, or maybe he has an ex-wife from hell or whatever the case may be. Those type of situations can definitely put a strain and cause love loss over a period of time if you feel like things aren't being executed or handled, or if you feel like maybe you are always taking a back seat to your significant other's life happenings or comings. I've never witnessed this period, but I can see how even somebody's own kids can cause love loss and a relationship between man and woman, because you letting your child run the show, and your child is a priority forever and always. But when you have an of age adult child and they are choosing to live their lives a certain way that pulls a lot of resources from a parent, that can make that parent become a depleted mate in a relationship, because they always got their energy focused up on how to solve their child's problems, or they're always consumed with what's happening of the child, and that could be whether two parents have a child and one parent just decides to, parent a certain way, and the other parent's like, nah, we ain't doing that. That ain't what I signed up for when we decided to have this kid. Or like I said, it could just be an outside entity. You could be the person coming into a situation that was already created before you came in,
Yeah, especially if their decision wasn't based on sitting down saying, let's have sex to have children.
Yes. Yes.
Because because if it was just, in my case, how I got here, two people was having fun and my mama had a son, so so you definitely have to, if you can, we recommend you do, because it'll be more beneficial, man. I'm telling you, nothing.
Hold on. Bubbling Brown says something. And on the flip side, some women have daddy issues. He's absolutely right. And I don't know if that one will probably be geared toward question number 2 that we spoke on. How do past trauma and experiences shape the ability to love over time? Bubbling Brown, I think that one is more so geared or influenced towards that question. And I think you're right because see,
I think it applies to both though,
okay,
because that's an external issue that
you right, y'all right.
that's an external issue because it's a family issue. It's something that you brought with you, even though you're right too. It is a past trauma or past experience, but it can lead to a love loss, in the form of just the inability to communicate. An inability to cohabitate, to I think like nowadays, roles have been getting such been devalued so much,
Yeah,
you know, that we need roles. Like roles are important. Like no business functions without people having assigned
a
roles.
delegated role, absolutely.
So people always want to say, oh well, you have one spectrum of the circle where people say, well, marriage is a contract, and and a business and this and that, and they go into that, and there's truth to that. All right. And then you have the other side of the spectrum where it's like, it's a contract between you, your spouse, and God, you
Yeah,
know, and and you are agreeing to with these words, for better or worse, sickness or poor, sickness or health, rich or poor, um, all of these things within these vows that you say, okay, um, these are the things that are going to be the foundation of this relationship. And whenever we deal with anything, whether it's work, whether it's a family issue, whether it's a past trauma, past experiences, we put them on that table with that right there first, as that being the anchor, you know. So with the roles, with the role being so distorted, um, or maybe that's not a good choice of words. Some people might disagree with that. Um, reinvented, restructured. We have it now where what we was talking about, what causes people to fall out of love with each other. Question one, and then like work, it correlates. Finances, one of your answers, right? The finances, when it's looked at as like, well, I make this much money or you make this much money or something like that, then it's like, okay, well, is the money the thing that's determining the love in a relationship, or is it,
right.
what are our goals, what are our core goals? When you said the thing about being able growth,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted you to expound on that a little bit, and I didn't want to misinterpret it. That's why I wanted to be able to ask, but just in a theoretical way, growth a lot of times is usually referred to as outgrowing the other person.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means that goals change, you
Yep.
know? Um, and I understand that from a perspective of my first marriage, where I could say that I outgrew a situation from a lack of being able to spend time with the person, and learning
Yeah.
who they were, so
Yeah.
being apart, I was growing differently, getting exposed to different things. So when we came back together, habits that I had, habits that they had, didn't work. Things were clashing.
Yeah.
So I, credit that to a growth,
Yep.
to growing in different directions, desiring different things, and not knowing how to come together and communicate that and put it on the table so we can make space and room and cultivate it
Mm-hmm.
for each other to be able and facilitate each other's growth,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
so it wouldn't lead to the loss of love, as it did.
As
It
it
would,
did, right.
as it, and that was me having to be able to self-reflect, to understand that, to say, okay, when I get into my next relationship, you know, I don't want it to end like that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so that's why, you know, I have to take accountability for myself. What was I unable to do? What were the things that I was going through mentally as well, you know, and that were challenging to me? Understanding what that person was going through and saying, you know what, okay, well, we both weren't able to do something. We both weren't able to allow our external issues to be put on a table
Mm-hmm.
where we could go through them and
Mm-hmm.
communicate them, share them with each other, have enough compassion to understand each other, formulate a plan so it wouldn't lead to us losing love for each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
even with the family issues, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I was teasing you with the, well, what if you got a guy who's doing all that, you know, because that was a huge thing for me.
You're right.
You know, like, why you always doing this for your mother? Why you always doing this for your mother? Why you always doing this for your mother? Why you always doing that for your mother? And I'm just like, I'm her man.
That's a whole nother show and topic.
You know,
Right.
you know, I'm her little man.
But that
So,
was the problem though, because no, you my man is probably what your wife was thinking at the time. You know what I'm saying? And
but we not going without though, and that's why I added that caveat
yeah,
where like, if we're not going without, and the
right,
things that you say, okay, can we do this? And it's never a no, it's just a maybe, a not right now.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Because we have some other things that we need to focus on first,
yeah,
but we could do that, you know,
yeah,
then what's the problem? You know?
right,
Because if it's a not right now, but you want to do it right now, but then you're not going to go do anything, you're not going to put in any extra work to facilitate us getting there faster. You
right,
waiting on me, then I'm cool with that, you know, because I'm not going to make a promise that I can't keep.
right,
However, I'm being transparent when I'm saying the time is not right
right now,
now, you
right.
know, but here's the plan, and we're gonna execute this out, you know. But meantime, in between time, I have these responsibilities,
Yeah, I agree
you
with
know.
you. That's kind of a sticky subject because, again, if a man is doing both, then I really don't foresee it being a problem. Like, it's not like you're choosing one or the other. But as I sit back and listen to this, I could imagine being a woman and my man telling me we got to wait to do something because he got to do something. I'm not saying this was y'all case.
Yeah, because he gotta do something for his mother, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now,
Yeah,
but then I feel you 110% because you being transparent. And if you're saying like we could get it done sooner, if you want to help do something as well in contribution to it, then it's almost like you stop me in my tracks because how can I be mad about that? You know what I'm saying?
other than the desire and the demand, you know.
Exactly.
I
Right.
mean,
Exactly.
which I'm willing to honor, you
Right.
know. But at the same time, like, I still, you know, I still come from an honor your mother and your father,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
you know, so like you're making it difficult,
Mm-hmm.
will feel uncomfortable. You're making
Mm-hmm.
it feel uncomfortable mentally, me, because I'm just like, okay, well, everything is that we don't have any needs, you
Right.
know, all of our needs are met. This is a
Right.
want you're talking about, this isn't a
Exactly.
need. And I'm just saying, you know, at that time, at that period of my life, it's like, you know, and at that period of my finances as well, it's just
Yeah.
like, you know, okay, well, this is also a need, you know, for this
Yeah.
other situation that I have to take care of. This isn't a want, you know. It's not like if your mother calls you to pay her rent, that you're paying for your mother to go on a vacation,
Right.
and your wife is asking you, you know, hey, can we go on vacation? And you like, not after I pay for this vacation for moms, then we can go in a couple more months after we save up some more money. No, it's not, you know,
Yeah.
but if our lights on, food in the refrigerator, you know, everything taken care of, we got roof over our head,
Yeah.
then yeah, that money can go there for that time being, you know.
Yeah.
And but it's one of those things where it's like, I think going to off our question, can external
Right.
issues like work and family issues lead to love loss? I think they do when people in relation to family issues just don't have any goals and compassion of working with each other, of understanding. Like, you know, I think if you get a really selfish person,
That's the word I was waiting to use. I was
you
about to
know,
say
then
selfishness. Mm-hmm.
then it's just it will always conflict.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
even with work, if you get a
Mm-hmm.
really selfish person, it'll always conflict because they just thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about, you know, um about the things of whether it's a need, of whether if it was, um like I would ask this sometime. I would ask, I said, so what if it was your mother?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if it was your parent?
They can't fathom it though if their experiences have been different with their parents. Like they can't even fathom it. Like it don't even come across. What you mean pay my mother? My mother been paying my school bill and I call her to pay my rent when I'm down. You get what I'm saying? Like some people just can't fathom it because it
Right.
is not part of their makeup, you know?
Yeah, and I understand that. It took me a while to understand that um that back in the day they had arranged marriages,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's something, even though it sounds so, you know, uh
Inhumane.
inhumane, I guess, but I think that that was something that was good in certain senses, because what I found was that, to your point, when people don't have when people don't have the same past experiences or family issues, there is a lack of compassion. Where, like you just pointed out, well, I've been asking my parents to do this and do that and do this and do that, so I can't even imagine my parent asking me to take care of a necessity for them, because I've always had them to take care of necessities for me. They've always been my crutch to
Mm-hmm.
fall on if I get hurt. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I've never had to be a crutch for my parent, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I think that, like, with that structure of arranged marriages, granted, everybody is productive and, productive members of society, people that want to do stuff. I think that coming from the same, having those type of experiences helps people deal with it. Where, like, if you are a person who's a single parent, who is a single child, uh, a child from a single parent home, marrying somebody else, typically from a single parent home, you'll have a lot more in common. You'll have a lot of those same, you'll understand a lot of those same things. You will have shared some traumas because there was a parent absent for whatever
Mm-hmm.
reason. It may not be the same extent or for the same purpose, you
Right.
know, because one might be valid and then over the years, then they got divorced,
You're right.
so they could have been married, and like we was talking about, we had a military member who was deployed, and then they got together after the person stopped being deployed and got a divorce. So they was year for 8 years. You may have my situation where your dad, left, you know,
Right.
and then, so you still grew up in an environment without a parent. So there'll be something also through that experience that they'll be able to talk about and bond together and even help each other cope with.
Mm-hmm.
Having a parent that they seen struggle a little bit, or a lot, or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever level, there's some compassion. They understand that because they've probably been in a situation where they've had to help their parent. They have to
Mm-hmm.
assist their
Mm-hmm.
parent in making sure that, that we keep a roof over our head and we keep, provisions going for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we don't know how we would put that together,
Right.
but
Right.
but I think that that's a thing that was very valuable at one point in time with trying to structure families, you know, to make sure that you put
Yeah.
people together that are going to, you know, build families and and pass on, you know, some good traditions.
Yeah, I am actually like that's a conundrum for me because I support where you coming from and I do get the essence of that, right? Like same like background or demographic or whatever the case may be may lead to like more of a success rate for that marriage, right? But societal wise, I don't know if that would be beneficial because that seems like that's kept for small communities, right? Then I'm just thinking about the life in the world of today, right? And you
Yeah.
have like, let's say this little poor person from this town over here, and then they end up going out to the big city and they end up meeting this extravagant rich person, right? And they end up becoming an item for plenty of reasons. And the extravagant rich person could go and marry somebody just as extravagant and rich as them. But every now and then you find that person that really loves and appreciates the small tuned things in life that this poor person that they ran into is more familiar with. So now they get with somebody different than them and they kind of end up doing this to each other, right? Like leveling each other out kind of, because I would imagine being rich and snooty all the time. Ooh, I did not mean to say that because not every rich person is snooty.
Snooty, right?
Yeah, but
Rich and
I could have
snooty.
I could imagine being rich and having certain pressures and criteria that always has to be measured up to. Then you come and you meet somebody in your life that's way more smooth sailing because they don't have the world pressures on them that the community of that rich person has, right? And then in turn they end up taking that poor person and sharing their money with them, their resources with them, and they end up bringing the poor person up. Not that they're coming down, but they're leveling each other up so they're equal now. You get what I'm saying?
Hell no. Hell no.
What about the all
Hell
right?
no.
What about
Hell
the
no.
old? We'll get it. Okay, all right. I can
Hell
see why that's a
no.
hell no because
Hell no.
I do get bringing somebody into your den that's gonna be more of a user than a supplier. I understand that, but in the same breath, I completely get why two different walks of life come together and it works out.
No, that's some storybook shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's my
Because
problem then.
because the wealthy don't do that. The wealthy don't do that. They still arranging marriages.
Okay, I get where you're
The
coming
people who got
from.
the real big money, you
Yeah,
know, I could drop some names on here, but
yeah.
I'll give you one in the private chat.
Okay.
I'm not gonna I'll give you one in the private
I
chat.
almost feel like I know who you're talking about.
But let me tell you something. Money marry money. Rich will marry poor all the time. Okay? But
Money marry money, but rich will marry poor.
wealthy, let me change the words. Wealth always marries wealth.
Okay.
But rich will marry poor.
I get what you're saying. All right. I get what you're saying. I
Yeah,
get I
rich will
can
marry poor.
understand that. I can
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
and we not talking about people being like destitute out here, y'all, when we saying poor. We just saying that, you know, um
Paycheck to
um,
paycheckers.
yeah, well, you know, well, um when we say poor, we talking about we're adding a monetary level to it. All right.
Okay.
And we adding a mindset to it as well. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we have socioeconomic classes. So, you know, rich would be like, okay, well, you making like, but I don't know, uh 10 to 50 million a year, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Or in that range, 10 to 50, you know, you consider rich.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then like, you know, maybe 5 million and below, that's all poor people. Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, everything above that, you know, I'm gonna say 100 million plus, you know, a billion plus, like that's all wealth. They're never going to, their interest alone, no matter how small, they would never spend that amount of, you know, of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and most of the time they don't hold that in paper. You know,
Right.
they hold that in assets.
Assets. Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so if I own, let's just say I own uh a whole bunch of hotels. All
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Hint, hint, hint.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have and that's my family.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my family has properties in every country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then I marry um somebody from a family that is um pretty much oil barons and, you know, philanthropy. I mean, they got so much money.
Wealth.
Yeah, they got so much wealth. You don't even know like what they own. You
Right.
know,
Right.
you just know that like they everything's in trust and,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just they own so much stuff you don't even know what they own.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's who you gonna marry. You gonna marry to that.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna marry. You're not gonna find, you know, Pearl down in you know back in the gap. You're not gonna pull him up and then we left. Nah, we not. No, you
Right.
no. You fuck up, you going back to the
That's
east
where I
side.
got your ass from.
Back to the south side you go. You
Right.
know? And you're gonna sign a prenuptial agreement because the family is concerned about
Protecting.
protecting
To
their
protect.
wealth.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Because you don't come from the education, you don't come from that class, you don't come from that culture. So to you, you know, everything is new, everything is, ooh, I'm winning, I'm this, let me get. You're more focused on the spin. You're not focused on the create and the
Right. Or what it's to
continuance.
take. Exactly. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So it sounds like that for the purposes of this conversation, rich is more disposable than wealth. Wealth is long term. Okay. It makes
You can
perfect
spend
sense.
rich. You can
Yeah.
spend rich.
Yeah.
You can spend rich, but it's very difficult to spend wealth. But you can
Right.
spend rich easy though.
So Bubbling Brown says, so now, so if I win the Powerball, am I now rich or wealthy? Use rich until you find something to do with that money to make you wealthy.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. How you gonna
And if you
invest it?
come across the wrong one, you ain't gonna have time to get wealthy because she gonna spend all your riches.
You're gonna spend all your riches. You know? Definitely.
Hmm. Which brings us into number 4.
What things are important in sustaining love over time and why?
Hmm. Okay. So for me, the things that are important in order to sustain love over time is, for one, honesty. It's probably one of the hardest ones, but it's probably the number one thing that will hold y'all together over time. And honesty can be broken into many compartments, many things, like as simple as, I don't like the way you do this no more. I don't like the way you do that. I'm not attracted to this. I'm not attracted to that. Like honesty, because these are things that once you say it to your partner, you letting them know, and that gives them the ability to go in and try to maneuver things to your liking. And that's for both sides. You get what I'm saying? So honesty is important. The second thing I feel like is,
Is it a way to deliver honesty?
oh, for sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I hear a lot of background noise. There definitely is a way to deliver honesty. And I feel like if you don't see me, I struggled on that over the years. And when I self-reflected on some of my relationships that I had, I feel like I could improve on that. And it's not about sugarcoating or like, or, blowing smoke up someone's ass. It's more so like, you don't want the message to get lost in translation, right? Like you don't want a motherfucker to be able to focus on the way you deliver what you said because it was so hurtful or so blunt or so mean and rude. You want to be able to like have that person receive what you said. So that way your message is heard versus getting thrown off by the delivery. So it's important. It's very important. And then once you learn that lesson in life, not only will it be beneficial for your relationship, but you're going to be able to move a lot smoother through life in general. If you could find a way to tell somebody how you really feel without being, lack of better terms, a bitch about it.
or coming off as offensive.
Offensive,
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's even better verbiage. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right about that.
I definitely think, before you go into your number two, I definitely think that um that it is the person that you're dealing with too. You have to understand if um if they are a person who is always emotional, um who who really lacks the ability to interpret things, because they are so focused on how it's being said. Because I've experienced that with men and women.
Yeah.
With men and women, when you are trying to communicate something, and um, the first thing a person will say is that's how you feel about it, and that response is always a deflection from what's being said, and it's more about how they're receiving what you're
Yeah.
saying to them, because things don't always have to be feeling motivated. They could be things that are just trying to resolve something, just trying to communicate some issues, and then and then get to a plan, get to a solution, so
Yeah.
that way, things can be cohesive. But I think that learning your partner, or who you're communicating with, learning their communication style. We talked about that one show, The Love Language. That's probably something, that a communication style, and being okay with that, where there still is a level of respect, because sometimes uh you have people who just are not uh rude in their presentation, but they may be loud.
Yeah. Me.
you know
Right.
and because they're loud, then the person perceives that, or receives it as it's negative,
Yeah.
just because it's being communicated so passionately.
Yeah.
you know
Mm-hmm.
and and that's one of those things where it's like, when dealing with people, you have to take that into consideration with a partner, or other individuals, because people, they a lot of times they won't respect the way you do it. They'll just think that you're rude, you
Yeah.
know or they'll think that, they'll put whatever makes them feel comfortable, to and I always say, to deflect from talking about whatever it was that they felt that was being said loud to them,
Exactly.
or they thought that you was in your feelings about, and just completely negating, the meat and potatoes of what you were
The
communicating,
problem. Right.
you
Exactly.
know, of which trying to get solved.
I agree. And to go off of being honest with each other, this could be like a whole nother segment of another show. But the reason why honesty is important too over the course of time is because while y'all are honesty is always important from the beginning to the end. But once you are with somebody for a while and you feel like they got to learn you and you got to learn them, honesty is important because you don't ever want to feel manipulated in a situation, right? So I feel like, just down to what you said about communicating and knowing who your partner is. All right, so I'll use an example for myself, right? I used to get triggered during one of my relationships when we were talking, and I was then in the in the pot that we're talking about as far as losing the message that he was telling me now, because I didn't heard a word that he said as he was explaining to me, and he wasn't loud and he wasn't aggressive and he was none of that, you know, but it was me as the person receiving it, and some of the words that he was using that used to just send me, right? And I think because I felt like we lack honesty with each other and trust. So now I'm thinking you're being manipulative, right? So that's why, because it's almost like you're picking out something that you learned about me over the course of the time that we were together. And now you're using it at this time to not critique me, but you telling me about myself. And that's okay in relationships where the honesty is solid, because you feel like, dang, they trying to make me a better person, you know? And but if you feel like the honesty over the course of time has depleted, or you found too many things that pop up that didn't coincide with honesty, it's not good, because then it starts opening the door for the mind to go into other places. Basically, like you said, you'll have somebody you dealing with that it ain't about you no more about what you say or how you say it. It's about how they're receiving it. You know, so yeah. So I feel like honesty is important to keep to sustain love over time. I also think I don't know the proper word for this, but it's almost like a lot of elder people don't do this, but it's called like opening your mind to think differently than what it has, and also like being welcoming new experiences. I'm not saying like you and your partner, y'all been together for 30 years, it's time to go have a threesome. That ain't what I'm saying.
Hey.
That ain't what I'm saying. But a lot of individuals, and this is the individual thing, and then you come together and you become partners. But a lot of individuals, I've noticed, like women and men, they are so stuck to what they were ingrained in with their beliefs. And I think that's solid. But I also think that don't be ignorant. The world is changing, you know, like I kind of feel old myself, because sometimes, I mean, I am old, but sometimes, and I hope to be blessed to be even older one of these days. I'm not as young as I used to be, and I didn't understand some of the sayings that I would hear our elders say until now I'm older, and I'm like, damn, I'm acting just like my elders was, or like, or what them kids got on. We weren't wearing stuff like, or listen to what they rapping about in that music. You know, you get what I'm saying? But it's more important for me to be able to adapt. I didn't say accept. I said adapt, which means understand the environment, understand the people, like, and all of that, versus me walking around stuck in my own way. So what I'm saying is that in order for you to sustain love over time with your partner, you need to be able to be willing to develop. You need to have an open mind. How you feel about that?
Man, sustain. Adapt is cool. Let's see. Dr. Mo says adapt is cool if it's not illegal or immoral.
Yeah, we're not asking you to compromise your freedom or your health or nothing like that. But Mrs. Dr. Molam.
Dr. Molam. Shout out to Dr. Mo.
Shout out to Dr. Molam. Only open to no criminal activity. Come on, Molam. You be a little boring. It's like, no, I'm just kidding. But no, honestly, even if it's, I mean, there's so many minor examples that could mean majorly. Like, I'll give you one right here as far as opening your mind, adapting or trying new things. Sometimes there's couples that get together. You're right. Sometimes there are couples that get together, okay? And then they live a certain type of lifestyle. And then one partner, after they've been together for 20 years, say, I'm about to start going to the gym, right? Mm-hmm. You now have a partner who is into a different lifestyle than you are. But you can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, you good. We got you.
So you were never into, you were never that. And you ain't going to be into that. And you ain't going to do that because I ain't getting off of work, or I ain't taking my time throughout my day to do this, to do that. What I'm saying is it's important to expand your mind and integrate in new activities and things, because you don't got to go to the gym, but if you and your partner can come go do something active together, like maybe y'all could start walking together. Maybe y'all could do a partner yoga and me class together, or things of that nature. That's what I'm talking about as far as expanding. It's a minor example, but it could be a major difference in your relationship.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, anything that is going to improve your quality of life and your health, and give you more time with each other, potentially,
Is going to sustain it.
Yeah, it should be something that is mutually agreed upon, and and look forward to, um, and will be sustaining,
Right.
sustaining over time, because you know we know as we get older, everybody ain't looking the same like they was when they was younger.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so that is one of the joys and privileges of getting old.
Yeah.
Um, but definitely, um, man, things that are important in sustaining love over time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with what you said, the piggyback. You said honesty, but I say one big word: integrity. First, self
Mm.
integrity, because that encompasses that, and consideration, um,
Consideration is big.
patience.
Mm. You hit it on the head.
Um, I always use this word tolerance, but people demonize the word, but that's just because they don't know the definition of it. Um, and discipline,
Mm.
um, and then a desire, a
That part.
desire. Yeah, we got that effective. We got communication, you know, um, and communication, of course, but that desire, because one thing the God Ali Dawud BK Soul Farm always says is that when he is sharing with us about his wife and their relationship, because they've been together for like 30 years. Salute to them. And they young, so that's rare. You just don't see people that young, who've been together that long. Um, it's waking up every day and being willing to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I call that desire, that thing that is desire. When we say, what things are important in sustaining it, nobody is making you, nobody is forcing you, nobody is saying when you get up in the morning, whatever your partner is dealing with, nothing is forcing you to stay there and say that I'm gonna have uh tolerance, I'm gonna have consideration, I'm gonna have integrity, I'm gonna be willing to communicate, I'm gonna have integrity about it, I'm gonna have love, I'm gonna have some trust, some respect, some discipline, I'm gonna have all these things to put into this pot, some compassion. Nothing is forcing you to do that. That is a self desire, wanting to be there, wanting to be used in that fashion, wanting to be accessed, accessible that way. And because, like you said, in our modern culture right now, it's so typical for us, for anything. If you're not beneficial, I'm gone on to the next benefit. You know, and it's working both ways. It's people quitting on each other. People are not bringing those things to the table to say, you know, what is our goal? Is our goal to get old together? Even if that is the simple goal. We just want to get old together, so I can look at you and you can look at me and I can pick on you about this and that. And we can reminisce about all the fun we had, and we can talk about all the stuff we did or what we didn't get to do, what we need to go do before we die, and enjoy that with your friend, with somebody who has never turned their back on you, somebody who has never wavered at a time of distress, you know, weakness. They never show, they never show so much weakness to give up on you.
Right.
You could count on them. They could count on you. You want it to be counted upon. That you looking for situations where you can come to the rescue. Both of y'all. So I think if that's the mindset, if those are the things that are put at the forefront, that's the why. That in order to get to that goal, you won't obtain it if you don't have that overall encompassing those things, but that self desire.
I agree.
To want and need that, to need it for yourself.
Yeah.
For whatever your own personal affliction is, that you need that for yourself. But I want to do this.
Yeah. It's definitely a choice.
Yeah, it's definitely a choice that I want to do this. I want to be a part of this. It's something that when you look in the mirror, you are happy with what you are seeing and the things that you were doing in that relationship and everything that comes with it. You value it. You added value to that, and even the struggles within it.
Yep. I agree with you, and I feel like we probably could think of a few more things that would sustain love over time. I think that Miss Dr. Molam did have a good point, that everything we just talked about, and then she adds, I had to learn to slow down, be patient, and be proactive, and limit last minute requests. Okay, so the slowing down part and being patient, 110%. Definitely being proactive. I feel like that's in regards to what Chef Earl was talking about in reference to making like a decision every day when you wake up to choose, your partner. Be proactive, do things that would be positively geared towards the relationship. And even if it ain't nothing physical, it's about making decisions every day. When you out and about, somebody hit on you or want to exchange numbers, it's a no. Your coworker that you see goddamn every day that's giving you signs, it's a decision to say no. Going home and getting in the shower, and then after you lay down, like rubbing on your partner instead of going straight to sleep, giving your partner time and attention. It's all decisions. And like you said, it's a desire, something that you have to want to fulfill in addition to everything else we talked about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dr. Molam also said, I'm learning a lot in my current relationships. I've been practicing all of what we've been saying. It works for you if you take your time. Don't be in a rush.
Yeah. And even one of the comments she added, and limit last minute requests. I feel her on that, actually.
What's a last minute request? Y'all got what's a last minute request?
I mean, a last minute request could be something as simple as your man telling you on Monday at 4:00 when you about to get off of work that tonight for dinner that you make at 6:00, he might want jerk curry chicken or something that you gotta go to the Union Market and get, something that the chicken gotta be sitting for 2 hours before you even, something that you can do, but you would have liked to know maybe on Saturday that you was gonna make him jerk curry chicken on Monday. Something similar like that. It's not major, but if that continuously happens, it derails your plan, your day, your life, the things you got set up for yourself.
Well, look, I got something for that, Billy Badass Joe and Dr. Mo.
Let's hear it.
So I would say, if using that scenario, he wants jerk chicken and the plan, and you actually thought that you were going to go home and cook, and you had something thought out already.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were going to, okay. So now it's, okay, babe, I was going to come home and cook. So clearly you don't want that. So do you mind calling and placing the order, so that way when I go by there, I can pick it up? Or if you don't have time, tell him what you want. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I want, so you can go over there and grab that, because I still have this to do, because I was going to be a little late.
Oh, it sounds lovely.
You know what I'm saying? Lovely. I'm just saying, I'm just giving y'all some game.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? So y'all can even get out of going to go get it. You know?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but the problem with that solution is, for one, if I already took out some food to cook, and then you want me to go spend some money, or even him spend some money on some out food, that's defeating the purpose of cooking, and like we already planned to do. The second thing is that I can send you to the market to go get the stuff, but 9 times out of 10, you gonna forget something, or you gonna grab the wrong stuff. I don't know. It's just better. I like that you're a problem solver and you came up with those solutions versus throwing a fit. So you already are an outstanding husband on that perspective. You would be
I'm the chef.
You would be even more outstanding husband if you told me on Friday that you wanted curry chicken on Monday.
Man, I'm just saying, y'all don't sound like y'all menu planning too good.
Okay, and, we ain't about to do that. All right, let me give you another one, and this would be more in the favor of the men. Imagine having a woman, you know, and you didn't got off of work, or you the type of guy that, oh man, I'm about to get off work right now, and then I'm about to go to the gym, and I'm gonna meet the guys at the gym, and then after that, I'm gonna go, you know, come home and cook, get something to eat. And if she text messages you on the way home, like, oh hey hon, I just pulled up to the house and I noticed how high the grass is cut in the yard. Can you cut the grass today? It's like you could, and you could even cut it tomorrow. But she's making a last minute request for you right now when you didn't have your evening planned out. And again, these are all minor, so they're not detrimental.
Okay.
But anything continuously requested like that over the course of your relationship, last minute can drain you, because it ends up derailing what you got for your life.
See, I'm one of them people that you know have had a spat with my neighbor, because I like to keep my grass cut, you know. So you know, so me receiving a phone call about you know, can we cut the grass?
It's like nothing to you. It's cool.
It just ain't even in my protocol. Like,
all right, let me find something your ass
baby,
don't
the grass
like.
already cut, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, I already did that. You know, like,
right.
You know, like, we keep that. You know, we got to keep, just in case we got to sell that asset. You know, we got to liquidate. If we got to liquidate that, we don't want to. You know, we want the cosmetics to be right.
This,
so,
then? How about? I don't even want you. How about this? You outside cutting the grass, because that's what you're doing, and that's what you like doing. Y'all got to keep it nice. It's an asset. You might want to sell it, all right? While you out there cutting the grass, the wife call you, all right? And she say, hey, babe, you know what? I'm at work, and I really wanted to get this stuff to do my hair tonight when I got off, so that way I could be prepared for the rest of the week. She's like, but this store gonna close before I get off. And in fact, they close the next 15 minutes. So can you run over there and get this foam setting spray that I need? So now you need to drop what you doing. Okay.
No.
What you mean though?
No, you wrong for calling and asking me 15 minutes before they close.
Thank you. You right about that.
You wrong for calling and asking me 15 minutes before they close.
You right about that, baby.
Now, if you would have called me an hour before, then yeah, I could have went over there and got it. And I would have, and then I would have just said, okay, text me exactly what it is. Now, if you need me to go in the bathroom and take a picture of this and take it, I might be like, babe, you're gonna have to get that shit tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying.
But if you know what it is and you have a picture of it and you can tell me exactly and you can send me, okay, boom, then I'm gonna go get that.
Yeah, but an hour ago ain't last minute enough for you to get our example.
But for some people would say that an hour is not good. It's not
enough time, especially if you about to cook some food that need to simmer for 3. But you get You get where we coming from.
I don't get where none of y'all coming from, okay? Look,
Uh-huh.
look,
Uh-huh.
Dr. Mo had one I wanted to pull up here. She had a scenario, okay. Here we go. His homeboy invited us to a cookout and I'm trying to surprise him. Negro, you should have told me that this morning. I got planned. Okay. Um, yeah. I agree with that. I
Yeah, I
agree.
agree with her too.
I agree with that because I don't have no last minute cookouts. I don't even do that. I won't go. If he telling
Uh-huh.
me last minute, I'm not trying to go. You
Right,
know?
right, right,
Yeah.
right.
If he telling me Thursday, tomorrow, man, we grilling out, you gonna pull up? Nah.
Right,
Nah.
right, right.
No, I'm not. Now, if you would have told me Monday, then yeah, I probably would pull up on Friday. But that's just not, that's not how I'm put together. Um, Here's another one. I already showered and ready to wine and dine, and he talking about we have an office party. Okay, but but you're not invited to the office party, I'm assuming. Or
But
is it
how was that last minute though? I feel like we straying away from last minute requests.
um I guess that would be last minute if he is
Oh, like if
net
he telling her like, dang, babe, I forgot I came to work today. They let us know office party after we close today, like that type of
and
thing.
yeah, so I mean,
Yeah, I feel her
so
on that.
I mean those things are where you sit down and you have to communicate to be like, look, we don't mind changing plans.
Oh, she's saying he wants me to leave out with him. Like she got to hurry up and go get herself together.
No, because in that scenario, uh, but that's still okay. If he wants you to leave with him, that's cool, right?
No, but she need to get herself together. She might need an hour and a half.
Hold up, but she said she was already ready to wine and dine.
In
I
the
thought she
house,
was.
that could be in a robe with her body mist on, with no makeup, hair pulled back, freshly brushed teeth, silk robe, dinner ready. That could be wine and dine, glasses on the table. That could be what that means. See, say it again, sis. I did.
Okay, well, you know,
That's right,
pardon me.
ladies. We up
Pardon
one.
me. I'm just saying, put on some clothes and roll. Like,
Oh my gosh, you is such a man.
put your, put your, pour your wine in a Yeti. You know what I'm saying? Pour your wine in a Yeti and let's
And then
ride.
yeah, it's gonna stay cool.
Yeah, pour your wine in a Yeti, and we ready. You know.
Yeah. But I actually do feel her as far as one of the things to sustain is don't be last minute requesting your partner down. It happens. I mean, it happens, but try to be like you say, proactive and allow planning time.
Yep, it
Yeah.
is, and that's what we seen a comment. I think Bubble and Brown put something in there when we was talking about what things are important in sustaining.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is where effective communication is is one of them things that would definitely help with those scenarios that yourself and Dr. Lamb
Yeah.
was just
Keyword
sharing with us.
effective. Keyword
Effective.
effective. Yeah, not just
Yeah.
communicating because people could just be talking and one person not listening. They hear you, but they not listening. Or you could be, like you said, trying to get a message across and effectively not doing it because the verbiage or the tone is coming off as an attack and not as a conversation. So
Definitely that fire and desire is
for
needed.
sure.
So if y'all just joining us, make sure to like and share this video. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so when we go live, you never miss an episode of the Love Speak. We are discussing tonight's topic, falling out of love. And we have been answering our questions tonight, and we are on our fifth and final question. Shout out to everybody in the chat who has been keeping the show entertaining have
Yes.
fun, and letting they love speak in the comments. We really, really appreciate y'all. Our final question: is it possible to rekindle love after falling out of it, and how?
So this shouldn't surprise you that I'm going to answer it and say yes, because I'm also the same person I left off on the last episode, and I forgot exactly what we talked about, but after basically bumped and bruised, it was still able to have love left there for somebody. And it was kind of like, you was like, nah, I ain't on that side of the field. And I was like, damn, well, I am. So as for me, it do feel like I could answer that question positively and say yes. I'm trying to think if I personally experienced or been in this, and nothing is clicking off the top of my mind like that. But I genuinely feel like that a couple that was together that has fell out of love, and if they have separated and took the time to live their own lives individually, that there may be a possibility to rekindle the love afterwards, because it's simple. Sometimes the grass ain't as green as you think it is on other sides. Or you might just simply get out there and learn that what you had or have or whatever is not as bad as you think it is in comparison to what you can get. This ain't
That's some
this ain't about set.
bullshit.
Right, exactly. And
That's
it's
some
not about
bullshit. Go ahead,
it's
though.
not about settling. It's not about being like, all right, I ain't gonna never find this. I'm gonna never find that. It's about being very aware of what you did and what you got, and then going out here and experiencing what somebody else has to offer, and then what you give and got in correlation to them. So I think it's possible. I don't really foresee it happening with two people who fell out of love and are sharing the same space afterwards. I think that leaves for them to like grow a deeper hate for each other, possibly. But I do think if you remove yourselves after the love loss has taken place, you may possibly be able to reestablish it. Or you could just be going to go live the best of the best lives after that and realize there's nothing that you ever want to do with that person again. But my final answer is yes, it can be rekindled. What's your thoughts? You seem like you like that bridge is burnt. It's done.
Yeah. I don't. I'm on the other side. Billy Badass Joe. I think that one. I think with I go from two perspectives. The first one is with family. I think you never fall out of love with family. You just have there's a love there. It's just, you agree that you're not going to tolerate certain things. So you just aren't going to expose yourself to certain things. So there's a level of discipline that you have to exemplify. Other people may not understand it, but you know why.
You're right.
You conducting yourself the way you conducting yourself. And if people desire to know why, then they would ask you. Even though a lot of times people ask you who want to know why, and they be like, well, you shouldn't be. They trying to really convince you not to be like that.
That
But
part.
but I understand that. That's just them wanting you to be where everything is going on. So I understand that too. But I don't think that you fall um that you fall out of love with family. With a relationship, oh man. I don't know if it's a falling out of love. I know you don't like certain things anymore, because that's the same sentiment that is translated with the family. Okay? Because you don't like their behaviors, you don't like the way they treated you, you dislike something. Okay? But sharing the story, like I told you when I had one of the shows, when I got phone call from an ex, a very sincere phone call, talking about their growth and how that from talking about their self-reflection and how they've grown and what they realized about themselves. Okay. It was it wasn't it was refreshing to hear because you knew that they had that, you thought that they had, that they were capable of that. All right. You may have had an expectation of that when you were together and didn't know how to articulate it or didn't know how to convey it or get it to, to mesh together with the two of you. If your communication was not effective enough, you may did not even possess the ability to effectively communicate or
Yeah.
have what they call the what's that word, that the emotional stability. That's one
Mm-hmm.
of these things we hear in the culture they're using now. So, and I
Mm-hmm.
agree. I think there is a thing called emotional stability, um,
Emotional awareness or something like that. They say.
emotional
Yeah.
awareness, or
What is it? Something they call it? Yeah, I know what you're talking
yeah.
about.
Um, but the only thing that's like, is it love? Like I even question it. Is it love to say that, okay, well, you still feel bad for the person, like you were glad that they finally were maturing, all right, but you're not happy that they're maturing and they with somebody else. So you don't,
Right.
so it's like what you calling to tell me that for? Like,
About this person getting a better part of you that I ain't get to experience.
you know, so you say, okay, so like that's not love. That's kind of just like, your ego feeling good about them telling you how they wish that they would have known this then because they could have been better for you. Okay, cool. And that you were saying these things and you were encouraging these things and they weren't able to receive it. Okay, yeah, maybe your ego feels a little good or whatever. But, you know, you're really in your mind like, wow. Like you didn't want to be a wife, you wanted to be a baby mother. And that's what you got, you know? So, in saying that about someone, like where you could have been a wife and a mother, you know, but you chose to be a baby mama because, like, you don't even, from your conversation, you don't even have the respect for a man that you gave your vagina to have children with, that you still didn't even exemplify for the person that was your husband. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what time are you really on? I
Yeah.
think you really just doing your thing, living your best life, and you know, salute to you. But I don't think that there's any love in that. It's just more of a reflection, looking at how two people have grown, looking at the experience that the time that, what did I value out of that relationship? What was my benefit? What did I gain from it? you know, because we know what we could, say we failed at. Like I don't have a problem with saying I failed at anything because I learned something.
Yeah.
I don't take losses. I take learning lessons. You know,
Yeah.
so understanding that, that's what I look at it. But it's like, okay, was there really, did I really, in correlation to the question, did I really, would we even have been able to rekindle a love, you know like after you go through so much stuff? Is that a love? I do think that's settling, because that person has already showed you who they are, you
Yeah.
know and that's not to say that people don't grow and they don't change, but you know how long before they show that again? you
Good
know
question.
how
Yeah.
long how long do they before they show that again? What things do you have to, uh what is the communication like that to reassure that you won't have to experience those things again? you know, and that's on both sides. That's on whatever they saying, whatever
Mm.
um whatever their reason is for doing it, you know. And I always think that whenever a person is always like, well, if you wouldn't have did this, I wouldn't have did that. I think that those are um cowardly people because they don't accept accountability for their own actions, you know.
I'm gonna
And
have to chime in on that when you get done, because I ain't no coward.
well, I understand. Well, I understand. I understand the mindset of who threw the first punch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's a fair question of who threw the first punch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you have to find out the root cause of a thing. All
Mm-hmm.
right. However, it didn't mean that I had to respond that way. And
Right.
that's where the self accountability comes from,
You 100% right. Yeah.
you know? So just because you threw the punch didn't mean I had to punch back, didn't mean I had to shoot, stab,
Right.
or
I
any of
could have
that, or
exited. Right.
put a through a stone, you know? Don't mean I had to tell on you. Don't mean I
Right.
had to do anything. Don't mean I had to do anything to that, you know, to that extent.
Yeah.
You know, I could have told you to stop, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then, you know, theoretically, and then if you proceeded, you know, now I
Mm-hmm.
gotta defend myself, you know, now
Mm-hmm.
you die, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I asked you to stop. But we still have to look at, you know, both parties. We still have to look at both people's actions. And I think that when you are, um, I think that when you are trying to rekindle it, if you haven't healed from the thing that made you lose it in the first place,
Exactly.
it's always going to be difficult.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be impossible because it lingers. It just
Yeah.
stays right there. I kind of akin it to this, to like if you arguing. Some people are vulgar with each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
They talk to each other nasty. So like um and I think particularly with women, like, you know, like you could be saying a whole bunch of good stuff, all right, and you could call your girl a bitch, all right, then you could apologize. And matter of fact, you could not even call her a bitch. You could just say, damn, you bitching.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of calling her a bitch, because all she gonna hear is that you call me a bitch. Well, you said I'm bitching, so you was saying I'm a bitch. Okay, that's how it always gets spent if when
Mm-hmm.
people do that. All
Mm-hmm.
right, it could be 6 7 months go by, as no arguments, no nothing, everything cool, and then there's an aggravation or agitation, and it's like, oh, what you gonna call? You gonna say I'm acting like a bitch now? You know, so that's why I'm like, first, we shouldn't even get to these type of this level of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Our communication should always be on a more positive level of finding a solution of resolve.
Mm-hmm.
And people getting called bitches and niggas and all types of negative stuff, you know, like that's not part of the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is a deflection from resolving what we are currently trying to solve, you know, whatever the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that once that behavior builds up, along with any other things that have persisted, um, I don't know if you can rekindle love because so many other things are gone. So much trust is gone.
Yeah.
The disrespect is there.
Yeah.
And it lingers. The, you know, the amount of times that you endured and you gave so many
Yeah.
chances, you had so much hope and got let down, you know. Um, yeah, Billy
I
Badass
mean,
Joe. I don't know if it's
I
possible to rekindle
see.
love after you fall out of it.
I'm not mad at where you coming from because I completely understand it. And that's why I say in the beginning, I feel like it can be done with time set apart from each other. But sometimes that time set apart makes you realize that, in fact, you don't want to go back to that because, like you said, the amount of times of this and the amount of times of that. And the most key important statement that you made out of everything you said was, if you haven't healed from whatever it is or was that got y'all to that place, then trying to rekindle it is basically like opening up the, here, let me take the stitches out that ain't even really stitches, and let me pour some more salt in that shit, because it's about to burn, because it was never healed anyways. I do agree with that 110%. And that's why some people do go back together and fall back out, go back and try it again and fall back out, because they never hit the healing process. Another thing that I want to say in correlation to, or not correlation, but you use the old relationship as an example, and her calling you, right? And her making mentions to you. And I feel you even on that, because as I said, why do I want to hear about you giving the better part of yourself to somebody else when I already been down that road with you and I tried to bring that part out of you, right? And that's natural for humans to like internalize something like that. But this is where I say I'm complicated and I'm different, because you may have not have seen that as no loving gesture, or no, to you it was an irritation, but to me it represented a woman not necessarily trying to rekindle, but understanding that love was what you was offering her back then, because she came back around to acknowledge that, hey, this is what's going on in my life. And not only did she acknowledge it and internalize it in her own life, but she made that phone call to honor you in a way by saying what you were bringing up to me was very much valid, even though I didn't agree with it back then, right? So
like I said, it stroked the ego a little bit, but
yeah,
you know,
exactly,
but it's just like,
exactly. But I respect the fact that it didn't waver you into feeling like, damn, I want to be back in love with this person. Because guess what, baby girl, like, you messed that up for you. It's a done deal. But let's say if you was not you per se, but a person in your situation was single and did have the time and opportunity, and then she came and approached you like that, and then maybe because you ain't been intertwined, or you ain't engaged, or you ain't married, you ain't, and then you start, so that's how people do fall back in love. That's an example of how they do. It just so happens she ended up coming to a man that ain't going for it, and you done moved on with life. You know, you married, you happy and stuff like that now. But that is a way of how people do rekindle and fall back in love. That time is spent apart. They go out and they experiences are, you know, different things. And then she ended up getting the experience that made her realize, like, damn, shit ain't green over here. So then she came back around. It just so happened she ain't find somebody that had the same experience. You went out and experienced and found better, or, you know, so. But
I hate that shit right there. I don't like that.
Yeah.
She went out and realized the grass wasn't as green.
Nah, it wasn't. It might have been 3 kids and a couple jobs later, but
if you should have recognized the grass you had, if you would have cut it. You know?
yeah.
You know, if you'd have kept the grass cut,
shoulda, coulda, woulda, though. You know what I'm saying? So
it's Dr. Mo said she was looking for stability and support. You know.
When she reached back out to him and told him that she recognized what he was saying is true, or she was reaching for stability and support when she was out here and
living
doing
her
whatever.
Best life. Yeah, living her
yeah,
best
like
life.
which one? Oh, okay, pretty much. All right, yeah, because it's like, and then Miss Lamb said something else too. Dr. Mo agreed cussing is a no. She said, let me go back into the comment.
Always called the reach back.
Right.
Yeah,
reach back there.
Yeah. Look. No more reach back.
Yeah, right.
No more reach back. No more reach
And she
back.
actually, okay, this is the last one. She actually looks like she's on your side. Because she say, I'm not in dialogue much to rekindle love. I know someone else will be in the wind waiting for the lovable pearl of a woman I am. So she ain't going back for rekindling neither. Yeah. So to all of you people out here who have y'all opportunities with DJ Chef Pearl and Miss Dr. Mo Lamb, DJ, y'all better do right by them the first time, because they said y'all ain't coming back across that bridge.
Yeah, we don't do, you know. the second time around. Nah,
Mm-mm.
we ain't doing all that.
No
You know.
side.
Nah, I learned my lesson the first time. And
Mm-hmm.
even though we tried, we tried it. I'm not gonna say that I didn't that I haven't been a second time around her, you know. But
Yeah.
and tried to rekindle love, and
Yeah.
actually tried to rekindle
That's how you
love.
know it don't work for you. You tried it out.
But yeah, but my experience was nah. That person is gonna be, who they
Right.
are, and like and this right here says usually if you leave uh
Usually if I
usually if I
leave.
leave you disrespectful in my face, it hurts too bad. But let me say this. Um
Usually if I leave you disrespectful in my face and it hurts too bad. Okay.
yeah, let me say this. If you leave because of the disrespect, then you already know what you left for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So going back, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the only way, the only litmus test is to be in it for a minute and see if it shows itself,
Exactly.
you know? So, that's it. You can have the most desire, be the most desiring, and you can be the person who has worked on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and be communicating that to that
Mm-hmm.
person. Like, look, like I know why we was having this problem then and blah blah blah. Like, and you're trying to have that communication with the person and they just want to do what they want to do and they don't care about that. Why do we have to talk about that? Why do we have to talk
Right.
about that? Why do we have to talk about that? And it's like because, you know, that's what people do when they go through things and they're trying to work together to get better.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about the things, that they go through. That's what the whole therapy is about.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
why you go to therapy because you're trying to talk about the things so you can get better,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
But
It's like if you left a man for cheating on you and then when he come back around and he got a girlfriend, but he talking about rekindling with you, he's still a cheater. So ladies, pay attention to the signs. Men, pay attention to the signs. Like you said, the work needs to be done.
the work always has to be done. Yeah, and Dr. Mo said, what I tried was someone who got PTSD from deployments, and it was tear dropping. Yeah,
Oh, I can
yeah.
only imagine.
Tried to help, but it was too far gone. Yeah,
That's like a whole nother. That's so sad. I can only imagine.
yeah, yeah. We got compassion for brothers. All the vets going through different situations because it's real.
Yeah.
And some of these things you just have to um they are life work. You realize that you go through certain situations and people get traumatized from relationships that take a lifetime. When we talked about our second question, past traumas and experiences, you know it's people who have those some of the comments from Bubble and Brown, daddy issues, mommy issues, like you were speaking of. um it's a lot of those things that take a long time for people to they become lifelong a lifelong journey of trying to
Yep.
cope and manage those things. And some people never figure it out. Some people never um find a solution to it or
Yep.
something to help them cope.
Mm.
Is they struggle with it continually. So we understand that that's a real thing. And we pray for them folks. And yes, therapy is a must. Even if you just come chop it up with us right here on the Love Speak,
Right.
and and let your love speak in the comment section. Trust me, we always gonna have compassion for everybody in their situation, and we gonna laugh and have fun and enjoy it. Yeah, friend groups.
Yeah.
Yep.
Miss Mo
Yeah.
gotta Miss Dr. Mo Lamb gotta get in with us earlier next time. I like her interaction. We wrapping it up now, baby. You got a lot of good stuff to say.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dr. Mo is always one of our biggest contributors and always active in the chat throughout
Yeah.
the DB Chef TV network. So
I
we
appreciate
love you,
that.
Dr. Mo. Shout out to you every time pulling up. Shout out to Bubble and Brown. Nah, it ain't your bad. Ain't your bad. Keep it coming. Keep it
Yeah,
coming.
keep it coming.
Yep, and you have a good night too. And it's the weekend eve, so have a fantastic, peaceful, positive, and productive weekend. We appreciate you pulling up this evening and letting your love speak with us. Shout out to Bubble and Brown in the chat. Pulled up tonight, letting they love speak in the comment section. And who else we had in here?
I like Miss Lane. I want to see her on the next topic. I need me somebody, a supporting teammate on my side.
Oh, your side.
Yes.
Look, so that's it right there for tonight.
All right.
Oh, and fans in the stands. Okay. Yep, fans in the stands.
One of my favorite podcast names. I like that name. Fans in the stands.
Fans in the stands, definitely.
Clever.
Yep. So shout out to them too for pulling up and leaving some comments in the chat, y'all. And mostly everybody who's out there watching, make sure y'all hit that like button, y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button. We appreciate it. It helps us get this content to more beautiful people like yourself. And definitely we will see y'all next time right here on the Love Speak podcast. Tonight, y'all, our conversation was about falling out of love. So tell us what you think in the comment section and let your love speak. Remember that we always answer all of the comments. It's links to merch in the description box. And make sure y'all have a peaceful, positive, and productive rest of your week.
Yes, sir. Signing
off, myself, Chef Earl Pearl at DBCHEFTV, always with the baddest of the baddies, Billy Badass Joe.
Good night, y'all.
And we are the Love Speak. Until next time, peace.
This whole publication is all about going from nowhere to somewhere, right? Being able to stand on something so that you can travel in peace, right? So bksoulfarm.com, 1016 160 self-sustainability. Jump on the list and get yourself together, right? Because it is irresponsible to not even know what responsibility means. So get yourself together, food, clothing, and shelter, protection of that, support your interests, and live.
Some say that art imitates life, but we say that life is art. So visit the DBCHEFTV gift shop and get 15% off of your next masterpiece of fashion. How do you get there? Simply tap the link in the description.
Exchange insights Sundays at 8 p.m. East Coast time with the Cigar Panel, smoking on words like two big nerds, hosted by DBCHEFTV and BK Soul Farm at Cigar Sundays on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so when they go live, you never miss an episode of Cigar Sundays Live.
Fans in the Stands is gaining momentum thanks to our viewers. Our crew bring the facts with humor, keeping our viewers entertained and laughing. Join us each and every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Fans in the Stands on YouTube.
At the Veteran Kettle Podcast, we thank you for your service, support, and sacrifice to our country. Listen to real stories of adversity and triumph as we give our best to honor our vets. Subscribe today and watch episodes now streaming on YouTube at TVK Podcast, The Veteran Kettle. Love ain't always easy, and we won't stop until we get it right. So bring that ass to the Love Speak Podcast. Subscribe today and let your love speak at TLS Podcast. The Love Speak, now streaming on YouTube.
Sign up for the newsletter and shop merch and clothing at www.dbcheftv.com.